Welcome to the first video in our video series about implementing strategies for special populations through your Tobacco Prevention and Control Coalition. In this video, you will learn about the 5 steps to recruit and develop members for your Tobacco Prevention and Control Coalition so that you can better serve special populations in regards to smoking cessation. In alignment with the CHES requirements for continuing education, by the end of this video, you will be able to conduct evaluation and research related to health education with your coalition, serve as a health education resource person, and communicate and advocate for health and health education. With all of the information that has been spread about the dangers of smoking in the last 30 years, smoking rates have decreased throughout the United States, but disparities still exist within special populations such as the LGBTQ community and African American males. The outreach plan developed for the Tobacco Prevention and Control Coalitions will help to highlight cultural considerations, provide strategies to increase awareness of smoking cessation resources, and identify potential opportunities and barriers related to working with special populations in Texas. The outreach plan will also teach you how to learn more about the special population you are hoping to work with and provide steps to identify ideal potential coalition members. During this presentation, we will discuss in detail the 5 steps for promoting smoking cessation in communities through coalitions. These steps are: 1. Examine the membership of the coalition. 2. Develop strategies for outreach with special populations. 3. Implement the defined strategies. 4. Evaluate the progress using the RE-AIM model. And 5. Sustain the strategies. The first step is to examine the membership of your coalition. In many cases, you may not yet have the right people on board to work with your proposed target population, so you will need to recruit a new member or members to act as the community expert. You can start by learning more about the special population you are trying to reach. This can be done through several methods, such as talking with members of the community or even finding online resources. Through this process, you will want to learn about their cultural norms, priorities, influences, language, and experiences. Understanding these factors will help prepare current coalition members for recruitment and outreach to new members. Even if some coalition members already have professional or personal relationships with people from the community, the entire coalition should set aside time to participate in comprehensive cultural competency training, specific to the target population you hope to engage. Once you have learned about the special population, you and your coalition members should set a realistic timeline for member recruitment, orientation, and training. You will need to discuss and determine the ideal characteristics of a new coalition member. Finding the best person or people to represent the target community on your coalition may take some time, a few days, a few weeks, or maybe even longer. The search may include informal conversations, meetings, or even formal presentations. When identifying potential coalition members, you should consider formal and informal leaders in the community. Formal leaders are those who hold a position of authority, such as elected officials, clergy, educational administration, CEOs from private businesses, chief law enforcement, executive directors of local agencies and nonprofit organizations, or board members of civic organizations. These individuals generally have decision-making authority on behalf of the entities they lead and are often willing to commit organizational resources to the local boards and committees on which they serve. Informal leaders, on the other hand, are individuals who do not hold an official capacity in the community or have an authoritative role in an organization, but still wield a great deal of influence. These individuals are well known and respected within their communities. They are usually known for the ability to get things done and for serving as unofficial representatives or spokespersons on behalf of their community. Informal community leaders are often very knowledgeable about a community's history and can provide advice on how to work in and with the community. Regardless of which type of leader your coalition considers, the individual or individuals should have broad appeal and influence throughout the community.
My name is Alton Burton. I'm the Tobacco Prevention and Control Coordinator for BV CASA. For us, it's been a unique situation because we previously had a coalition. So the strategy for me was to reach out and reconnect and establish communication with some of those previous members. Let them know that I was in the process of trying to rejuvenate the coalition due to the funding that we received. If I'm a new coalition from the ground up, though, I would definitely recommend reaching out to some community health organizations. Most of those organizations have individuals who have to serve on some sort of community liaison type of role. So that would be a great place to start.
After your coalition has agreed upon the key qualities of a new coalition representative, the group should determine the methods for recruitment and who is responsible for recruitment. Some coalitions may initially choose to brainstorm ideas related to where and how to recruit a new member, and then task coalition staff with the actual recruitment activities. Other coalitions may choose to ask multiple members to gather information on potential candidates first, and then reconvene as a group to narrow down a list of potential candidates. Final recruitment activities may then include the coalition chair and the lead staff member. Here are a few tips to guide recruitment. First, start with who you know. Some coalition members, through their professional or personal networks, may have ties to the target population or know someone who does. Holding informal conversations may immediately lead to a short list of candidates or result in referrals to people or organizations who can offer more insight on potential coalition members. Next, meet with organizations or associations that represent your target population. Whether it's a civic organization, a business association, or a nonprofit who serves the target population, these types of entities can offer valuable feedback on who may be the right person to serve your coalition. Often, the best candidate may emerge from either meeting informally with members of these groups or by formally presenting information about the coalition and its recruitment efforts during a regularly scheduled meeting. The next tip is to meet with stakeholders within the target population. For this, go where your target population already is. This could be neighborhoods, social gathering places, community events, or even social media, to find out who directly your stakeholders are listening to and who is considered to be a community leader. Informally speaking with individuals or talking with community groups gives the community an opportunity to be directly involved in sharing their thoughts on who could best represent them on your coalition. The final tip is to make a pitch to the potential new member. Present all the information needed for the potential member to make an informed decision. Be able to concisely, but thoroughly, state the purpose and goals of the coalition, the roles and responsibilities of a coalition member, the time commitment required, and how the individual's expertise and experience would help the coalition in reaching its goals. This includes planning and implementation of outreach strategies with the specific population. Let the individual know that they have been recommended by other community leaders as someone who could provide leadership and guidance to the coalition as it develops and executes outreach activities. Inform the candidate of the specific role you want him or her to take in outreach, such as leading an outreach planning team, recruiting people to serve on an outreach planning team, or promoting the work of the Tobacco Prevention and Control Coalition among members within the target population. Now that you have your new TPCC member on board, your outreach informally begins when you present your coalition member to the community. There are several effective ways to announce your coalition member depending on the time and resources of the coalition. Some of these strategies could be you could send an email distribution announcing the new member. You could hold a come and go reception before or after your next coalition meeting. You might send out a press release to local newspapers, radio stations, or television stations. You could post the announcement on your coalition's website. You might also use your coalition's social media accounts to make the announcement, or you may include a brief article in your coalition's regular newsletter. Whether or not your coalition has established a formal orientation and training process, it will be helpful for your new coalition member or members to receive more information about the history, governance, and operations of the coalition. This might include when, why, and how the coalition was created, the coalition's structure, mission, and goals, staff roles and responsibilities, previous and current activities or initiatives, current membership, the community and any specific populations served, partner organizations, and any coalition funders or sponsors. Once your new coalition member or members are on board, your coalition can get down to the business of developing outreach strategies focused on your target population. It is recommended that your coalition start by forming an outreach planning team that will develop the outreach plan geared toward the specific population. During the recruitment of your new coalition member, you will have discussed the member's desired role in your coalition's outreach activities. Ideally, the new coalition member will have agreed to serve as the leader of your outreach planning team and will work closely with coalition staff in the planning and facilitation of team meetings. Additionally, this member would also lead the recruitment of additional target community members to serve as external outreach planning team members if needed. After you have assembled your outreach team, hold an introductory meeting. This meeting will help establish a better relationship among coalition members, coalition staff, and new outreach team members, as well as provide a brief overview of the purpose of the team. This meeting should include an abbreviated orientation about the coalition, a discussion about the purpose of the outreach planning team, an overview of the process for developing the outreach plan, and the timeline for accomplishing team tasks. This meeting is intended to ensure that everyone has a shared vision before embarking upon the actual planning process.
Well, once we have the group at the table, we really discuss on an individual level what we felt our needs were and what we observed as a community. Our evaluator provided some great data in comparison to what our rates look like from local level to the region as well as the state level. And so we really let that determine and guide the strategies.
That brings us to step 2, which involves developing outreach strategies targeting your special population. Your TPCC outreach planning team will play the primary role in identifying key community stakeholders who can help extend the coalition's local outreach efforts. Ideal community partners will include advocacy groups, organizations that serve the target population, social organizations, and businesses that are friendly toward the special population you are trying to reach. Endorsement and promotion of local TPCC activities from the community establishes credibility among consumers, helps spread information through natural network ties, and ensures usability and effectiveness of smoking cessation strategies. In order to successfully capture the attention of and communicate effectively with the community, you need to carefully design a message that is meaningful and relevant. You run the risk of alienating people and wasting valuable resources if you assume that a one-size-fits-all approach will work. Some tips to consider when creating your messages are: use meaningful images and symbols, be aware of important cultural and historical events, ensure that you use up-to-date language, and be inclusive. And don't forget that each target audience is comprised of smaller, more specific subpopulations. There are many ways to promote media messages about smoking cessation. However, tailoring should be taken into account to ensure that messages appeal to the population you are trying to reach. Newspapers, magazines, and flyers are all examples of printed media that can convey messages to audiences effectively. Messages should be endorsed by credible sources within the community. Effective advertising can increase knowledge, counteract myths, and motivate people to change behavior. Printed media should send a message that residents will benefit from not smoking and engage the audience in a way that the message is easily understood. It is important to note that one message will not appeal to every audience, so messages should be developed that target various populations. Tobacco companies in recent years have shifted away from promoting their products through traditional media sources like billboards and magazines, and instead they focus on digital media and retail outlets. As a result, electronic sources are especially important in promoting smoke-free messages. Online sources like Twitter, Facebook, other websites, blogs, or online advertisements are useful ways to share information about smoking cessation to a wide audience. Social media is a great way that your TPCC can build support and reach your target audience. It is especially relevant to younger demographics and can be conducted at a low cost. When posting social media announcements, work with your partners to retweet or share your posts with their followers. This is an easy way to reach a new group of people and increase the reach of your messages. Hashtags are a good way to group your content with other like-minded media posts. Once your outreach planning team or your TPCC have determined strategies to use for outreach in your target population, it's time to start implementation. To help guide implementation, your TPCC should develop a work plan that lists your coalition's overall goal, objectives, and activities. This work plan will help to drive your work. Incorporate a timeline for completing each activity and designate a person responsible so that your strategies are well documented and all TPCC members understand how and what is going to happen. Use this plan to guide implementation and hold your TPCC accountable to the plan you've created. An example work plan can be found in your toolkit. Your TPCC and outreach planning team should review the work plan periodically to ensure activities are being conducted as planned. However, as with all community-based work, barriers should be expected. If your TPCC encounters a challenge during implementation, rewrite your work plan to account for these changes. Consider your work plan to be a guiding document that is flexible. The intent is to both document and track progress.
Again, most of the coalition members are part of the 12 sectors from the coalition. So we wanted to, again, it was important to us to have that voice. So we utilize not only the data, but everyone's personal experience and input.
Throughout your outreach, it is essential to engage the target community via both community promotion and leadership engagement. Just as you initially recruited representatives from the community to serve on your outreach planning team, continue recruitment even as your outreach activities are implemented. New partners can increase the reach of your outreach and improve your activities. Also, share information with your peers across the state. Each TPCC will implement outreach activities differently. As such, they will have unique lessons learned and success stories. Sharing information among TPCCs will allow you to learn from other people's mistakes and successes and get ideas to improve your outreach activities. When possible, the TPCCs should share resources you've created or messages with other TPCCs in order to allow for broader use. Resources available at the Quit Line can help individuals stop smoking. Throughout your outreach activities, advertise these services to the community. The Quit Line serves many races, ethnicities, and sexual identities and is relevant to most individuals. The next step is evaluation. Evaluation is an important part of outreach activities because it provides information about how your TPCC is carrying out activities and if they're actually working. Evaluation is used to assess the implementation and outcomes of a program, increase efficiency and impact over time, and demonstrate accountability. To evaluate outreach strategies, your TPCC can use the RE-AIM framework. By utilizing the RE-AIM framework, your TPCC can monitor and measure the reach and representativeness of outreach activities, both in terms of participation and setting. RE-AIM represents 5 important considerations in evaluation, including reach, efficacy, adoption, implementation, and maintenance. Together, these 5 factors help to measure the impact of a program. Evaluation using the RE-AIM approach should begin before TPCCs implement their outreach strategies. The TPCC should appoint a representative or identify an outside party, such as a subcontractor, to lead the evaluation prior to outreach. This person should be in charge of organizing, tracking, and implementing the evaluation activities, as well as updating the TPCC on a regular basis regarding evaluation progress. After identifying an evaluation lead, the TPCC should define what their outreach strategy is and how they plan to implement it. Once you know what you are doing and how you are going to accomplish it, the TPCC should identify what the ideal outcome would be. For instance, if the coalition decides to implement a smoking cessation program like The Last Drag, the ideal outcome would be that the participants stop smoking. If the coalition decides to buy a spot on a local television channel to advertise the Quit Line, the ideal outcome would be that tobacco users see the advertisement and call the Quit Line. Once information about your program or strategy is finalized, the TPCC can begin designing its evaluation plan. Information about your program or strategy is finalized. The TPCC can begin designing its evaluation plan. The first part of any evaluation plan is to create an evaluation question. Evaluation questions related to TPCC outreach should be specific and short-term. The question should incorporate the target population and outcome that you want to accomplish. For instance, an evaluation question may be, did the Last Drag program help people stop smoking? Another question may be, did the TV advertisement increase calls to the Quit Line by LGBT individuals? After identifying the evaluation question or questions, it is time to determine how and when to measure your outcomes of interest. The best way to organize evaluation activities and decide when and what to measure is to create an evaluation plan using a chart. After identifying pertinent information related to your strategy or program, and then designing your evaluation plan, it's time to review the document with your TPCC members. This can be done through a regularly scheduled coalition meeting with the subcommittee who is implementing the particular outreach activity, or through an email conversation. Ultimately, it is important for the individuals helping with outreach to understand how the strategy or program is being measured so they can both offer feedback and be prepared to help with implementation. Once you have a general consensus on the evaluation, it's time to implement the plan. Finally, it is important to consider sustainability. Similar to evaluation, TPCCs should consider sustainability as they plan their outreach activities. Not everything needs to be sustained, so TPCCs should first identify what does need to be sustained, if anything. Sustainability is not just about money. Everything the coalition will need to achieve its outcomes, from setting, resources, technology and training, staff, technical assistance needs, and other factors should be considered. Core elements of sustainability include buy-in from key leaders or decision makers, leadership, resources, and communication mechanisms, and processes and procedures to maintain operations or activities. We hope that this presentation will help your coalition reach out and expand the impact of your community initiatives. By taking on this endeavor, you are increasing the impact of all the hard work you do to improve the health and well-being of communities in which you live and work. Outreach should be an ongoing process that is continually renewed and improved based upon lessons learned. Coalitions can greatly benefit from persistently seeking out new members and engaging the local communities that those new members represent. Now it's your turn to discuss. Use these questions to start a conversation amongst your group. First, what strategies will you use to recruit representatives from your special population to serve on an outreach committee? And number two, who are some non-traditional partners in your community that you could go to for recruitment? What do they bring to the table? We wish you luck in this endeavor. Thank you very much for joining in, and we are excited to see all of the great work that your TPCCs do throughout the state of Texas. Thank you.
I think the increased attention and focus that it provides on the issue of tobacco use, I think without the coalitions being present, not as much focus would be on the dangers of tobacco. So it definitely creates a heightened awareness on the dangers associated with tobacco use and secondhand smoke.